Hello, how's it going, everybody? Today we're jumping into Hosea chapter 1. Let me just check this. We're lagging. We're not. All right, so let me get the text up on screen and get that green screen out of the way. Give me 1 second here. Where is it? All right, there it is. Boom. Okay. So, Hosea chapter 1. We finished up Daniel. I'm honest, I'm not satisfied with how we went through Daniel. Daniel was a lot of visions, a lot of prophecies. So it's going to take there's multiple interpretations of each vision and each prophecy. And each vision and prophecy takes so much time, which is why as we were going through Daniel, I kept chopping a chapter. Like we had a set chapters to read that day, and I kept chopping a chapter off and putting it off to the next day. Kept chopping a chapter off, putting it off to the next day. So we extended Daniel for a bit, and even still, we couldn't. We couldn't dig as deep as I wanted because there's just it's a lot based in history, and so there's a lot of dates to look up. There's a lot of the different kings, the different powers in the area. So we got to map all that, and just a lot to keep track of. And then on top of the historical aspect, there is a lot of symbolism, and then with that comes a lot of interpretation. And then by the nature of a prophecy, just like the issues we had in Isaiah, is it a near future fulfillment prophecy or is it a far future fulfillment prophecy? Can it be both? So we looked at a bunch of different commentaries, and you have all these scholars coming up with multiple different interpretations. So which is the right one? Which was the intended meaning? Are there multiple intended meanings? So we can. There's so many angles to look at it. So I decided, hey, we'll get through Daniel, but to get to the real nitty gritty, we'll have to go back and look at each individual prophecy on its own. Because people write entire series of sermons on just one of these visions, So, and where we were trying to get through multiple in an hour, you know what I mean? So we're gonna have to jump back into that. For now, we're continuing on. We're going into Hosea today. And it's a relatively short book, so we won't take too long getting through this. Daniel is relatively short. It's just there's so much meat in Daniel. So what I like to do before before we jump into chapter 1, my Bible is a study Bible, and it has like a brief, not summary, but it gives you some context and background information on the author, around on the style of writing, on what was happening during the time, stuff like that. So I don't want to read a lot of it because a lot of it we can pick up on our own, from our own interpretations, from our own understanding as we're reading. But I want to read a little bit of it just to preface the book. So, like others before him and after him, Hosea discovered that being a prophet had its occupational hazards. The Lord sometimes required his prophets to perform difficult and even humiliating object lessons to complement their messages. So that's reminded me of Ezekiel. Isaiah and Jeremiah didn't have to go through stuff like that, but Ezekiel did, and it looks like Hosea is having to go through certain things to be an example. God is using him as an example. So the Lord sometimes required his prophets to perform difficult and even humiliating object lessons to complement their messages. The beginning of Hosea's prophetic ministry, the Lord told him to get married and announced that Hosea's chosen bride would be unfaithful to her marriage vows. Yeah, that doesn't sound like a pleasant situation. Her adultery would vividly illustrate Israel's unfaithfulness to her covenant Lord. So God is essentially turning Hosea's entire life into an analogy. That's that kind of sucks because the analogy here is not a good one. Hosea chose Gomer, the daughter of Diblaim, as his wife, and they had 3 children, each of whom received a symbolic name from the Lord. The firstborn son's name, Jezreel, was a reminder that the atrocities that had occurred at Jezreel. God would soon judge Israel for these sins, appropriately through a military defeat at this same city. Their daughter Lo-Ruhamah's name, meaning not loved. That's a horrible name. To name your kid not loved. Okay, I can already see how people might take Hosea as not a literal book. Like how some believe that Job is a metaphor. The book of Job is just a metaphor and it didn't really happen. I can already see some would probably think that way of Hosea, the book Hosea, just based off of this premise, this like little preface here. So their daughter Lo-Ruhamah, meaning not loved, announced that the Lord would temporarily withdraw his love from Israel. The third child's name, Lo-Ami, meaning not my people, anticipated the severe disruption of the Lord's covenantal relationship with his people. Because of Gomer's adulteries, the marriage disintegrated, and she eventually became the slave or concubine of another man. However, the Lord instructed Hosea to buy back his wife. Dang. Hosea's act of mercy toward his wife was a striking picture of the Lord's great love for Israel. Hosea, the son of Beeri, prophesied during the 8th century BC. His ministry began while Uzziah was king of Judah from 792 to 740 BC, and Jeroboam II was king of Israel from 792 to 753 BC. Hosea's prophetic career spanned the reigns of the Judean kings Jotham and Ahaz, and ended during Hezekiah's rule. Hosea also witnessed the reigns of the 6 kings of Israel, although he did not name these kings in his prophecies. So let me pull up a little timeline here. That would be cool to see, because we have multiple prophets who are speaking about the same thing. Looks like Hosea is going to speak. We're going to jump back to the judgment. I thought we were through with that. It looks like we're going to jump back into that. So we had Isaiah, we had Jeremiah, we had Ezekiel, we have Hosea, all speaking about the same thing. So let's see. Prophet, Bible time 9. Let's see. No, we're starting from. We want to go a little bit back. We got Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Daniel, Isaiah, Ezra. Oh, Hosea. Okay, so this is everything here, it looks like. So, Jonah, Joel, Amos, Hosea. So Hosea was before Isaiah. But Hosea spanned a good amount of time. Isaiah spanned a good amount of time as well. Like they all, right? But yeah, okay. Ezekiel is pretty short. 792 BC, Uzziah becomes the king of Judah. Hosea begins his prophecy in 785 BC. I don't know what this little line here is. Is that the... That just might be a... I don't know if that's just like a rendering issue with the picture or what, but that's interesting. Okay. So it looks like Hosea kicked it off. Hosea, then Isaiah. Okay. So it's going to be interesting seeing another another interpretation or another take on how the warning message of the coming destruction and judgment is going to be. Man, we talked about this so much. So much. Well, let's see how it goes. Let's start because it seems like we're going to be telling it through the metaphor of a love story, right? Well, I don't know if you can even call it. It's more like a tragedy, right? With Hosea and Gomer. Well, let's see how it goes. Let me put the volume up. And let's get started.
The Book of Hosea. The word of the Lord that came to Hosea, the son of Beeri, in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah, and in the days of Jeroboam, the son of Joash, king of Israel. When the Lord began to speak by Hosea, the Lord said to Hosea,
Go, take yourself a wife of harlotry, and children of harlotry. For the land has committed great harlotry by departing from the Lord.
So he went and took Gomer, the daughter of Diblaim, and she conceived and bore him a son. Then the Lord said to him,
Call his name Jezreel, for in a little while I will avenge the bloodshed of Jezreel.
I mean, who is seeing this? Are the people seeing this? If people, like, I get it's a metaphor of Israel and God and stuff, but the people should get the message if you're here to warn them about the coming judgment. So people need to see this and be like, whoa, okay, I get the metaphor here. But it's so personal to Hosea's life. Would the people be like, hey, look at this guy. He made a horrible decision. Now look he married this person. Why would anybody want to marry someone like that? And now look, his life is ruined. I'm not taking him seriously. So it could be counterintuitive, you know?
On the house of Jehu, and bring an end to the kingdom. For in a little while I will avenge the bloodshed of Jezreel on the house.
So he went and took Gomer, the daughter of Diblaim, and she conceived and bore him a son. Then the Lord said to him,
Call his name Jezreel, for in a little while I will avenge the bloodshed of Jezreel on the house of Jehu, and bring an end to the kingdom of the house of Israel. It shall come to pass in that day that I will break the bow of Israel in the valley of Jezreel.
And she conceived again, and bore a daughter. Then God said to him,
Call her name Lo-Ruhamah, for I will no longer have mercy on the house of Israel, but I will utterly take them away. Yet I will have mercy on the house of Judah, will save them by the Lord their God, and will not save them by bow, nor by sword or battle, by horses or horsemen.
Now when she had weaned Lo-Ruhamah.
That makes a lot of sense because during the judgment we had a lot more focus on Jerusalem instead of all of Israel. And here it's saying, for I will no longer have mercy on the house of Israel, that I will utterly take them away. Yet I will have mercy on the house of Judah. So that actually makes sense now that we have this explicitly being said here. why we were only talking about the remnant within Jerusalem, you know? Okay, that makes sense.
By horses or horsemen.
Now when she had weaned Lo-Ruhamah, she conceived and bore a son. Then God said,
Call his name Lo-Ammi, for you are not my people, and I will not be your God. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured or numbered. And it shall come to pass in the place where it was said to them, You are not my people, there it shall be said to them, You are sons of the living God. Then the children of Judah and the children of Israel shall be gathered together, and appoint for themselves one head, and they shall come up out of the land, for great will be the day of Jezreel.
The one head, I just want to look at this. The one head refers to the Messianic king to come. Let me read that again. Then the children of Judah and the children of Israel shall be gathered together, and appoint for themselves one head, and they shall come up out of the land. For great will be the day of Jezreel. Or are we talking about the restoration of Israel after the judgment, right? After their captivity in Babylon, coming back and being reborn in the promised land again. Let me pull up another commentary and see what they got to say. Hosea chapter 1. Then the children of Judah and the children of Israel shall be gathered together. God promised a restoration so complete that the division caused by the civil war of Rehoboam and Jeroboam the first, a division that stood for 170 years, would one day be erased. We can say that one way this promise is fulfilled. Is in the church, where God brings together Israel, Judah, and even Gentiles into one body. For great will be the day of Jezreel. The first child of Hosea and Gomer was named Jezreel as a sign of judgment. But God promised restoration to so complete that Jezreel would once again be a name of greatness, not judgment. Let me pull up another commentary. Let me look at Bible Hub. Bible Hub has a whole bunch of different commentaries. And what verse is that? 11. Shall come up out of the land. Right? Where is it? Then the children of Judah and the children of Israel shall be gathered together, and appoint for themselves one head. Gathered together. That reminds me of, because they were scattered, right? And then now they're being brought back together into the promised land. This is after the captivity. Appoint for themselves one head, and they shall come up out of the land, for great will be the day of Jezreel. Okay, so shall come up out of the land. Better, shall go up out of. A phrase frequently occurring in Scripture to denote the marching forth to war. Oh, Israel shall then be united. The envy of Israel and Judah shall cease. They shall be unified again. A worldwide dominion shall be established under the restored theocracy. Under the word land, no reference is made to the prophet by the prophet to exile either in Babylon, Assyria, or Egypt, but Palestine is evidently meant. Then the true Israel, having chosen their true king, shall demonstrate the greatness of the day of Jezreel. The brothers and sisters will then drop the curse involved in their names and recognize the divine proprietorship of Jehovah and the abundance of his pity. So I can see, okay, so we're not talking about Babylon, Assyria, Egypt. Then shall the children of Judah and the children of Israel be gathered together. When the fullness of the Gentiles is come in, this will be a means of converting the Jews and bringing them into the church. And when converts of the house of Judah shall have obtained a resettlement in the Holy Land, then a general conversion shall take place of the race of Judah and the race of the 10 tribes. They shall unite in one confession and in one polity, and appoint themselves one head. The Lord Christ, called David their king, shall become the chief and head of his church, composed of Judah and Israel, of Jews and Gentiles. This head is indeed appointed and set up over the church by God. Why are we talking about Gentiles, though? Then the children of Judah and the children of Israel shall be gathered. Where are we talking about Gentiles? But even if we are talking about Gentiles, didn't God said that Gentiles can come as long as they accept, change their ways, you know? The schism of the north and the south shall be healed, a schism to which, by implication, Hosea denies the divine sanction on the ground, we may suppose, that Jehovah being one, his people must also be one. In the last passage, however, Jehovah is represented as in certain sense sanctioning and usurping dynasties of Israel in his anger. And in the idealizing description which follows, Judah seems to find no place. The one head is doubtless the Davidic king. Okay, but is it the Messiah for sure? Let me see this. A Jewish commentary. That's literally what I just clicked on before. Oh, it's just show commentary. Okay. So let's go to Do they not have that section in Because we end off with, and I will not be your God. 8. 9. 10. Where's 10? Okay, it's in 2. Okay, that's interesting. And the children of Judah and the children of Israel shall be gathered together, and they shall appoint for themselves one head, and they shall go up from the land, for the great is the day of Jezreel. So the one head is David, their king. And it can't be David, their king, because he's dead. So from the Davidic line. The Messiah is from the Davidic line. What I'm trying to get to is when is this occurring? You know? Is this again this near fulfillment? Is this supposed to be a near fulfillment prophecy or a far fulfillment prophecy? Like, is this talking about when Jesus comes, or is this talking about the rebuilding of Jerusalem right after Cyrus delivers the Hebrews and brings them back to their home? Let's keep going, and maybe we'll get some more context clues.
Say to your brethren, my people, and to your sisters, mercy is shown. Bring charges against your mother, bring charges, for she is not my wife, nor am I her husband. Let her put away her harlotries from her sight, and her adulteries from between her breasts, lest I strip her naked and expose her, as in the day she was born, and make her like a wilderness, and set her like a dry land, and slay her with thirst. I will not have mercy on her children, for they are the children of harlotry, for their mother has played the harlot. She who conceived them has behaved shamefully. For she said, I will go after my lovers, who give me my bread and my water, my wool and my linen, my oil and my drink. Therefore, behold, I will hedge up your way with thorns, and wall her in, so that she cannot find her paths. She will chase her lovers, but not overtake them. Yes, she will seek them, but not find them. Then she will say, I will go and return to my first husband, for then it was better for me than now.
Dang.
For she did not know that I gave her grain, new wine, and oil, and multiplied her silver and gold, which they prepared for Baal. Therefore I will return and take away my grain in its time, and my new wine in its season, and will take back my wool and my linen given to cover her nakedness.
Yep, we talked about all
now
this.
Now I will uncover her lewdness in the sight of her lovers, and no one shall deliver her.
So it's making me feel like the one head is referring to the Davidic line, but not to the Messiah. It seems like we're talking about within this context. Because I find it odd, like, why would we jump to, I should say this way, jump to the Messiah when we're talking about the coming judgment, and we have an event where the children of Israel are going to be brought together or gathered together and have a ruler again, you know? So, yeah, I find it odd. I mean, I understand the Davidic line. Okay, makes sense. But if it refers to the messianic king to come, as my Bible says, I don't know if I see that. If you guys see that, let me know if you have. What's your reasoning? And why do you think it's not just the next in line to be king? Just another of the Davidic line.
Her lewdness in the sight of her lovers, and no one shall deliver her from my hand. I will also cause all her mirth to cease, her feast days, her new moons, her Sabbaths, all her appointed feasts. And I will destroy her vines and her fig trees, of which she has said, these are my wages that my lovers have given me. So I will make them a forest, and the beasts of the field shall eat them. I will punish her for the days of the Baals to which she burned incense. She decked herself with her earrings and jewelry, and went after her lovers.
Dang, she was decked out. I don't know. Okay, that was a word used back. Okay, cool.
But me,
I thought that was like a more modern
she
phrase.
forgot. Therefore, behold, I will allure her, will bring her into the wilderness, and speak comfort to her. I will give her her vineyards from there, and the valley of Achor as a door of hope. She shall sing there, as in the
music is
days of her
ominous.
youth, as in the day when she came up from the land of Egypt. And it shall be in that day that you will call me my husband, and no longer call me my master. For I will take from her mouth the names of the Baals, and they shall be remembered by their name no more. In that day I will make a covenant for them with the beasts of the field, with the birds of the air, and with the creeping things of the ground. Bow and sword of battle I will shatter from the earth, to make them lie down safely. I will betroth you to me forever. Yes,
Right? So God is taking them, right? God took the judgment, rained down upon Jerusalem and Israel and whatnot, and then he took the remnant away. And he cultivated them, and then made a new, and brought them back and made a new covenant. So that's what's happening here.
I will betroth you to me in righteousness and justice, in loving kindness and mercy. I will betroth you to me in faithfulness, and you shall know the Lord. It shall come to pass in that day that I will answer. I will answer the heavens, and they shall answer the earth. The earth shall answer with grain, with new wine, and with oil. They shall answer Jezreel. Then I will sow her for myself in the earth, and I will have mercy on her who had not obtained mercy. Then I will say to those who were not my people, you are my people. And they shall say, you are my God.
Then the Lord said to me,
Go again. Love a woman who is loved by a lover and is committing adultery, just like the love of the Lord for the children of Israel, who look to other gods and love the raisin cakes of the pagans.
So I bought her for myself for 15 shekels of silver and 1½ homers of barley. And I said to her, You shall stay with me many days. You shall not play the harlot, nor shall you have a man. So too will I be toward you. For the children of Israel shall abide many days without king or prince, without sacrifice or sacred pillar, without ephod or teraphim. Afterward, the children of Israel shall return, and seek the Lord their God and David their king. They shall fear the Lord and his...
This illustration goes to show how much God loved his children, the children of Israel. Because you would know who would do this. You know what I mean? Who would do this? Who would go run after their wife after their wife left them and then went with a whole bunch of other guys? And then you're going to her and saying, here, at your lowest moment, when all your other options have ran out, I'm still willing to bring you back and take care of you. That's a lot. That shows like Hosea loved Gomer, or at least he's listening to what God told him to do. But the illustration is there that God loved his children, the children of Israel, so much that even though they ran off and they were praying to all these idols and completely forgot about God and were doing whatever they wanted to, he still said, I love you. You can come back. Please come back, honestly. And that's like, it feels like he stooped so low to bring them back. Like a normal person would be like, hey, okay, you left, you did all this, that's your choice, you're gone, the relationship is over, I'm not dealing with that, right? But God was like, no, I love you that much where I'm still here if you want to come back.
His goodness in the latter days.
Well, that was a short chapter.
Hear the word of the Lord.
We're not having the problem we had with
children of
Daniel.
Israel. For the Lord brings a charge against the inhabitants of the land. There is no truth or mercy or knowledge of God in the land. By swearing and lying, killing and stealing and committing adultery, they break all restraint with bloodshed upon bloodshed. Therefore, the land will mourn, and everyone who dwells there will waste away, with the beasts of the field and the birds of the air. Even the fish of the sea will be taken away.
Now let no man contend or rebuke another. For your people are like those who contend with the priest. Therefore you shall stumble in the day. The prophet also shall stumble with you in the night. And I will destroy your mother. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because you have rejected knowledge, I also will reject you from being priest for me. Because you have forgotten the law of your God, I also will forget your children.
Holy, wait, let me back this up.
Waste or land.
Let me take that back to the beginning. That's
Word of the Lord, you children of Israel. For the Lord brings a charge against the inhabitants of the land. There is no truth or mercy or knowledge of God in the land. By swearing and lying, killing and stealing and committing adultery, they break all restraint with bloodshed upon bloodshed. Therefore, the land will mourn, and everyone who dwells there will waste away, with the beasts of the field and the birds of the air. Even the fish of the sea will be taken away.
Now let no man contend or rebuke another. For your people are like those who contend with the priest. Therefore you shall stumble in the day. The prophet also shall stumble with you in the night. And I will destroy your mother.
So who is this you here? Because we're saying your people. So that's talking about the group, the children of Israel as a whole. So who's the you? Now let no man contend or rebuke another. Are we just talking about a general individual of the sinful Israelites? Now let no man contend or rebuke another, for your people are like those who contend with the priest. Let me see what my Bible's got to say here. The failure of Israel's religious leaders, including most of the prophets, would bring about their downfall. The lack of knowledge refers to the priests had failed to teach God's law to the people. As a result, the priests would be the special object of God's judgment. He would terminate the priestly line. Hosea 4. Your people are like those who contend with the priest. In passages like Deuteronomy 17:9-12, God clearly commanded his people to listen to and submit to the priests, who would help and lead the people with the word of God. But because the people cast off the knowledge of God, truth, mercy, and restraint, they wouldn't listen to the priests, and they contended with them instead. And the other thing is, as we saw in Jeremiah, the priests and the prophets, they were spreading false teachings. The whole structure was corrupt from the top down, from the priests all the way down to the regular folk. But because the people cast off the knowledge of God, truth, but remember, Hosea is written before Jeremiah, it's written before Isaiah. So maybe still at that time, you had priests who were preaching the word of God, and people just stopped listening. But because the people cast off the knowledge of God, truth, mercy, and restraint, they wouldn't listen to the priests, and they contended with them instead. This helps to explain the opening of the verse. Now let no man contend or rebuke another. The idea is they won't listen to the priests, but they contend with him instead. So don't waste your time trying to contend or rebuke them yourself. Therefore you shall stumble in the day. It's bad enough to stumble in the night, but at least we can understand it. But when God's people cast off the knowledge of God, restraint and guidance from the leaders, then they shall stumble even in the day. They become lost. And that's what we saw. They were lost. They didn't know what to do, where to go. They couldn't recognize God's voice when God was calling for them to turn back to him. They were lost. They couldn't see anything else besides what they had surrounded themselves with. They've been doing what they wanted when they wanted. They didn't want to change their ways. And it came to the point where that's all they could see. When God was standing right in their face, they couldn't even see him or hear him. God paints a picture that's so bleak that even the prophet is dragged down to the level of the people and stumbles. Yep, that's what we saw in Jeremiah. Perhaps the prophet thought he was safe or immune because of his spiritual standing or reputation, but he was not. The prophet also shall stumble with you. My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. When God's people are destroyed and waste away, it isn't because God has lost either his love or strength. It's because his people lack knowledge. And that we saw how important that was when we were reading Solomon. It isn't that God says his people are completely ignorant. They have some knowledge, but not enough. They may have just enough to make them think they know it all. That's a problem a lot of us have. What kind of knowledge do they lack? In the context, the first answer must be they lack the knowledge of God. They know God some, perhaps little, but not enough. And yeah, because it came to a time where they knew God, they understood God, but they also prayed to other idols. So they've mixed everything. So while you had priests that prayed, then offered and respected and loved and worshiped God, you had priests that continued the pagan ways. And so people had adopted both practices, and they were viewing God as just another god amongst the many gods of the surrounding nations. So they understood on some level, but not enough. The second kind of knowledge they lack is the knowledge of God's word. Yep. They know the word of God, some, perhaps a little, but not enough. Perhaps they felt they knew God's word well enough already. It should not surprise us that there is a connection between knowing God and knowing his word. Some people think that Bible knowledge is boring and brainy and not necessary for a real walk with God. But God and his word are vitally connected. Psalm 138 verse 2 says, "You have magnified your word above all your name." When God sought for a term to express his nature, he calls himself the Word. That's true. When we know God for who he really is, it affects our conduct. Where there is no knowledge of God, no conviction or of his omnipresence and omniscience, private offenses such as stealing, adulteries, and so forth will prevail. Because you have no one holding you accountable. You know? If you can get away with it, if you can hide, nobody can see you, you think you're fine.
And I will destroy your mother. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because you have rejected knowledge, I also will reject you from being priest for me. Because you have forgotten the law of your God, I also will forget your children. The more they increased, the more they sinned against me.
The thing is, well, I mean, explained it literally in the next line. Because you have forgotten the law, your God, I also will forget your children. That God did say, don't punish the child for the parent's sin, right? Don't punish the parent for the child's sin. You maybe hold yourself accountable, right? Self-accountability. So because you have forgotten the law of your God, I will also forget your children. It sounded like the children are being punished for what the parents forgot. But it also says, God says, the more they increased, the more they sinned against me. So as the generations continued, the more the sin continued.
I will change their glory into shame. They eat up the sin of my people. They set their heart on their iniquity. And it shall be, like people, like priest. So I will punish them for their ways, and reward them for their deeds. For they shall eat, but not have enough. They shall commit harlotry, but not increase, because they have ceased obeying the Lord. Harlotry, wine, and new wine enslave the heart. My people ask counsel from their wooden idols, and their staff informs them. For the spirit of harlotry has caused them to stray, and they have played the harlot against their God. They offer sacrifices on the mountaintops, and...
Let me read that. I was confused with harlotry, wine, and new wine enslave the heart. What's a wine and new wine? So wine apparently used in Baal worship along with divination sacrifices and ritual sexual acts. So that's what they're talking about. I thought it would be fermented and not fermented. This doesn't touch on it either. Hosea for commentary. Was it chapter 4:2? I mean verse 4:2, right? Oh no, 11. What am I doing? Wine and fleshly sin are pictured as blended in one, to deprive man of his affections and reason and understanding, and to leave him brutish and irrational. In all the relations of life, God and man and will are guided by the affections. And so, in God's language, the heart stands for the understanding as well as the affections, because it directs the understanding, and the understanding bereft of true affections, and under the rule of passion becomes senseless. Besides the perversion of the understanding, each of these sins blunts and dulls the finesses of the intellect, much more both combined. Okay, so they didn't really make a distinction between wine and new wine. I thought that's what I was curious about. Why? He further distinguishes the tirosh from the yayin, remarking that the former is the new wine, which takes the heart and suddenly intoxicates. Oh. Okay.
Their God. They offer sacrifices on the mountaintops and burn incense on the hills under oaks, poplars, and terebinths, because their shade is good. Therefore your daughters commit harlotry, and your brides commit adultery. I will not punish your daughters when they commit harlotry, nor your brides when they commit adultery. For the men themselves go apart with harlots and offer sacrifices with a ritual harlot. Therefore people who do not understand will be trampled. Though you, Israel, play the harlot, let not Judah offend. Do not come up to Gilgal, nor go up to Bethaven, nor swear an oath, saying, as the Lord lives.
Therefore, people who do not understand will be trampled. So people who are born and brought up in this sin don't know right from wrong. Because they are sinning, even though they don't know it, they still will be punished. Okay. Hosea 4:14. Let's see if my Bible has anything to say about that. And no, it doesn't. Let me look up a commentary. The idea of Hosea 4:6 is repeated. My people are destroyed before lack of knowledge, without understanding God and His word. God's people are destined for destruction. So with the lack of knowledge, they don't know any better, but they're still being destroyed. So if you sin without knowing, you're still guilty of that sin. Okay. So that means, that's interesting. Because I was under the impression that, God will judge you based on your circumstances. If you don't know any better, you're still fine. But no, if you're sinning and you don't even know it, you're still sinning and you'll be judged for that. The idea of Hosea 4:6 is repeated. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. They're destroyed for lack of knowledge. Or is it because these are God's people and they should know better? They had the knowledge and they lost the knowledge. They forsook the knowledge. And that's why they're being destroyed. That could be the case.
For Israel is stubborn, like a stubborn calf.
Now the Lord will let them forage like a lamb in open country. Ephraim is joined to idols. Let him alone. Their drink is rebellion. They commit harlotry continually. Her rulers dearly love dishonor. The wind has wrapped her up in its wings, and they shall be ashamed because of their sacrifices.
Yeah, they went overboard with the sacrifices. Oh, but that's it. We finished 1 through 4. We covered 4 chapters in under an hour. It was about to hit an hour. We were not able to do that in Daniel at all. But yeah, I'm liking Hosea. Hosea is nice. Even though it's touching topics we touched multiple times before, it is the most refreshing take on it, right? It's because we're hitting it in a completely different angle, and we're it's different. Even though the subject matter, we're talking about the destruction, the judgment, and all that stuff, the gathering of the Jews back to Jerusalem and rebuilding and all that. We touched these topics over and over and over again, but it's done in a new way, so it doesn't feel because it got to the point after reading Isaiah and Jeremiah and Ezekiel, like, okay, I get it. We're reading the same story over and over again and from multiple different ways. I mean, we did get different perspectives in each, but this is, I feel like, is the most different from the others. So it's cool. I'm liking Hosea so far. So we'll jump into Hosea chapter 5 tomorrow. And we're talking about right. We preface the judgment. We're talking about the warning of the coming judgment. Looks like tomorrow we're talking about the judgment. So it'll be interesting to see how Hosea takes on that. He wasn't alive for the judgment. So, well, maybe he was for a bit of it. So we'll see. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's reading as we started Hosea. And hope to see you tomorrow for Hosea chapter 5. All right. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.